Hi, I wanted to officially welcome you to our course, The History of Education. I'm Melissa Gibson. I'm your professor this semester. Um, Hopefully, you received the syllabus and you have had a chance to look around D2L and start to get oriented with the course. But I did want to take a few minutes to at least welcome you this way. We won't be meeting face to face in this class, it is completely asynchronous and online distance learning. Many students in our graduate programs have requested more distance learning classes so that they're able to juggle their work and their life and continue moving in their trajectory towards their degrees. So that's why this is a completely asynchronous distance learning class. I wanted to just give you a little bit of an orientation, if you will, and a little bit of reassurance about the schedule and about how the course will flow. So this course is divided into 6 units plus this week, right? This week is like our introductory week. But otherwise, there are 6 units, and each unit is 2 weeks long. You may also hear me in lectures or in emails and things refer to the units as modules. I use those words interchangeably. But so 6 units or modules, each consisting of 2 weeks. And every unit follows the same calendar and follows the same progression. So the first week of every unit, you have the week to work through the readings. There are typically 6 per unit. Remember, 2 weeks of online course would be the equivalent of almost 6 hours of face-to-face course sessions, so 2 course sessions, plus all the readings that would go into that. So you typically have 6 things to get through over the course of that first week of the unit. And at the end of that week, you are asked to post in an online discussion. We use the tool Perusall for our online discussions. Perusall is what we call a social reading app. And the idea is I want you engaging authentically with your peers and your classmates about the readings. I don't want you to feel like you have to write a book every week like you might in a D2L post, right? Where there are like set numbers and criteria of how you're going to comment on the readings, and there's a lot of kind of like fake I agree with you. That was a great point that you said, Jennifer, and right? I want you to engage authentically. And when I think about what that might look like in an online space, I really think about how we engage in social media, right? Which is this real-time space for all its flaws where we can engage with people virtually. And if you think about what conversations look like in a social media venue like Facebook, for example. Most of us are still the generation of folks that would use Facebook. If you think about someone sharing a meme or an article or a reflection, the way that conversation unfolds, somewhat informally, sometimes there are longer posts when appropriate, but most of the time, just a few words, a sentence of confirmation, affirmation, questions, and multiple people chiming in, responding to one another, threads of conversation, informal and yet authentic. If you think about all of that, that's what we're aiming for in our social reading discussions. So all of the readings are available in D2L as well as in the Perusall app. Some folks prefer to just do their reading in Perusall. I prefer to read separately in PDFs and then go into the Perusall readings and specifically insert my comments. But you will insert comments into like a note. They become like an annotation of the shared PDF of everyone in the class that's in Perusall. And you'll have a chance to respond to one another. And all of the guidelines about how many posts, how many interactions, etc., can be found in D2L, as well as in the Perusall instructions. But again, the idea is the first week of every unit is about you moving through the resources and readings and then beginning to collectively make sense out of them with your classmates via Perusall. Then in the second week, you're working on 2 things, okay? You are working on, in the second week, a small group activity and your culminating work for every unit. Now, the small group activity is intended to be like the equivalent of what you would do in class in group work. And so in every unit, I tell you that the small group work really should take about an hour to complete. And that the work that you're posting from your small group work is not a formal final project. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it represents the work and the thinking that you and your group mates do together. And then you'll respond to other groups. And again, all the instructions are in D2L. But I really want you to use that time frame to help you understand how extensive or not your work should be. I think the small group work easily, right? Many of us are overachievers in our professional life. And as students, it could easily become something huge, and that's not the intent. The intent of the small group work is for it to be similar to the kind of work that you would do in a group in class as part of a class session, right? So really think about that hour, give or take, as the parameter on your small group work. Then the most formal piece of work that you do each unit is the culminating work, which are typically short papers that ask you questions about the readings that you draw on and reflect on. In some instances, instead of a paper, you're going to do a Flipgrid video. In other instances, like at the midterm, you'll write a longer paper synthesizing across multiple units. So you'll want to look at the instructions for the culminating work carefully for each unit because it's different. But the idea is that this is really your summative assessment for the unit. Okay, but also, so it's summative for the unit, but you're still getting formative feedback towards your overall work and understanding in the course. So every unit, 2 weeks. Week 1, do the reading, and you're going to post and perusal for the first time by the Sunday of that first week, and then you'll have a few days to respond. Midway through the second week, you're gonna meet with your small group and post your work online. And then by the end of the second week, you will respond to comments in small group work and you'll submit your culminating work. So think about that every 2 weeks going through that cycle. Again, this first week is an exception because we're gonna get to know perusal and we're gonna get to know one another a little bit. I also just want to give a few words of reassurance about the reading. So this is a graduate level history class, which means it is reading intensive. We have equivalent amounts of reading to other graduate history classes. Fewer if you've taken the history of higher education. Our readings are comparable, if a little less, to the number and quantity of readings as in that class. It is different than, say, your curriculum theory class or your communities and leadership class because those are practice-oriented classes. This is a traditional academic history class. And so we're really going to be digging into the history of schooling in the United States. That said, because there are 6 readings, sometimes films, that you will have in every unit, you may find that you have to engage differently with the readings than you would in a class where maybe you have 1 reading for a course session, right? And that you may have to make decisions about which readings you're gonna scan and skim and which readings you're gonna dig into in depth. And I always say in this course at the beginning that if you are finding that you are struggling with the readings and that it's taking you a very long time to do them, which some students do, I really recommend seeking out maybe some academic support services from the graduate school around graduate reading skills. Some of us have had a chance to develop those and some of us have not. Along those lines, there are optional reading guides for every unit's readings in D2L. So again, if you are finding that you need a little bit more guidance on how to effectively and efficiently tackle the readings in a graduate level history class, those reading guides could be a really powerful tool for knowing where to focus your understanding and what the big ideas are in each of the readings. The lectures that I provide, the video lectures, A lot of students find it helpful to watch those before they read. Some students prefer to watch them after they read as kind of a summative check of understanding. But if you are struggling with, my cat is assaulting my computer in the corner, by the way, so that's why it keeps wiggling. But if you're struggling with time, reading again effectively and efficiently, the lectures can really help you focus your reading, so they can become a pre-reading tool that you can use. And perusal, while it's a discussion, is also a space to make sense of the readings. And so if you're stuck, that's a place to share. I'm stuck here. What does this mean? Or I keep getting stuck on this paragraph and what comes after, I'm lost. Or I only got through half of this article and it took me way longer than I thought it would, and I'm wondering if anyone else had this experience. Perusal is a place to share that. And those are annotations for your asynchronous discussion each week. Okay? So, course schedule, 2 weeks. I've said that multiple times now, right? Following the same calendar. We've talked about the time frame for small group work, the informality of the discussion posts and perusal. That's not a space where I am checking for grammar or language or any of that. That is a space for authentic communication. I don't want you to feel stressed about having graduate level writing in the perusal space. It is for peer-to-peer engagement. Okay. I've talked about the reading load and that there are resources on campus if you find that you need support for that reading load. And then I just want to say that I am on campus. I teach in Schrader on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I have my office hours on Wednesdays. Many of you who are working professionals probably won't see me in the building because I'm there typically during the traditional workday. But I am available for office hours by appointment if the Wednesday morning doesn't work for you, or you're not around Tuesdays and Thursdays during the school day. So please just reach out to me with an email, give me a call in the office, send me a message in D2L, whatever means you want to get a hold of me. Leave me a note in my office and we can find a time to meet. My cat just bit me. We can find a time to meet and chat for office hours if you have any questions. Otherwise, I really look forward to getting to know you in this course, beginning with your Flipgrid introductions. It's always a highlight getting to see who you are and hear who you are, both of those, like we might in a face-to-face class.